Hello, hello, everybody, dear followers. Wow, Digital Health Portugal, and I'm speaking English. Yes, this is the first time, probably not the very first time, as we had already in the past guests from outside Portugal in our editions. But this time, this is a special fireside chat conversation with two guests, and I'm sure you're going to love this. Let me just remind you that this is going to be live in December, and probably you are spending your holidays times, and this is going to be replayed. So, apologize if you're going to see us twice in the network, but this is for your benefit. Welcome to the program, and welcome Sigrid, welcome Clemens. Maybe you would like to introduce yourselves to our viewers in the first place.
Yeah, I'll start. Hi, I'm Sigrid. I'm working with a freelance company, Air Health, helping healthcare organizations implement AI to understand what AI is, a new technology, and how it can be used to benefit the patient, really focusing on the patient and the better outcomes for healthcare professionals. And I'm happy to be here with Clemens.
Thank you so much, Sigrid, for taking the time to join us. Clemens.
So I'm Clemens. I'm the CTO of Boehringer Ingelheim, a family-owned large-scale pharmaceutical, 140 years of heritage. We are still privately owned and extremely proud about that. And our job is to transform lives for generations. And technology is one lever to do so, obviously together with data and people. And I super look forward. It's going to be a fun time with you guys.
Thank you so much, Clemens. And definitely, we are here to unpeel quantum computing. So that was the subject of Clemens' keynote presentation at the Web Summit this year. We had already a previous chat that you might have followed before in this channel with Clemens. And we can start by asking this incredible question: what's quantum computing all about, and how would it impact people's lives, Clemens?
So I'll start from a usage point of view. I mean, obviously, our job is to find better cures. Every day, find better cures to treat more patients. And while we use cutting edge technology since many years, entirely throughout the value chain, be it for target discovery, so really finding the root cause of a disease or whatever makes the disease progress, all the way to finding them the right compounds and getting them through clinical development. We really think quantum computing, assuming we get it to work, to help us to find better compounds. And what does better mean? Well, I want to give you sort of a picture. If you think about a target, so an enzyme that is actually causing the progression of a disease to be a lock, you can think about the compound that we get into the body, the drug, literally like a key. And the trick on physics and chemical side is how to make the two things bind as good as possible together. And this is sort of exactly what we hope quantum to help us make even better than today. With AI and machine learning, we have to approximate the world. Everybody that uses AI knows AI is based on statistics, right? And based on a hell lot of training data to be able then to make predictions, approximate predictions about calculations. And what we want to do together with quantum computing is to remove the approximation out of the game and really calculate down to the lowest level at amazing speeds. Because today, in the classical compute world, we already have technology that would let us go really deep down. But the problem is it just scales exponentially. Now, what does that mean? That means you need literally more computation units than atoms in the universe to calculate something that is in the range of a real compound or a real enzyme. And with quantum computing, that may change the game to be really able to calculate down to quantum mechanical level how things truly behave from a physical and chemical point of view. And that's exactly why we look into quantum computing, because every bit we can calculate better will give us actually hopefully the ability to design a better drug that binds better to its target. So if you think about that piece that I gave you already, that picture, it's literally finding an even better key today to insert into the lock. And that key may actually be either sticking in the lock, unlocking it, or actually destroying the entire lock. That's the basic the basic mode of actions, how drugs work. And if we get these binding affinities better calculated, so the key and the lock getting closer together, sticking for longer, you need way less of a dose, and way less of a dose is pretty much equal to side effects next to a couple other things, because obviously everything is deadly. It's a matter of the amount. That includes also chocolate, by the way.
So what can you add to this, Sigrid?
Well, I really like what you're mentioning about like finding the treatment that is better, like improving the treatment for the patient, right? It's not because, as you mentioned, like everything's deadly, everything's not good. Like it's not natural to have that in your body. You should not be taking drugs if you don't need it, right? But if you're able to figure out what type of drug would benefit the patient, so that they would be able to take smaller amounts of drugs for it to be efficient, or that you would actually be able to improve the outcome of that patient. That's what we should all be focusing on, and not just. I think as well, like coming from a pharma company, Clemens, are like, okay, you're just here to sell drugs, but I hope that is not your focus, just to like selling more drugs, but actually wanting to help patients improve and become well.
I think there is sort of a big difference from what people see from the outside to what we number one see and work every day on the inside. Our dream is pretty simple, and that is actually save lives. If you're the closer you come to a disease, the more you also see the real world impact of that disease, especially if you talk about chronic diseases that really changes the way that people live their lives, and the ability for them to live their life. So everything we can do to make them live a better life
Yeah.
with their disease is actually one step forward in a better world. And I think that's just the important piece. And if you talk to our researchers every day when they wake up, that's on their list. On their list is actually cracking the next big thing in order to help to cure cancer, in order to help to make life more meaningful for those people that suffer, say, pustular psoriasis, that have a pretty nasty life right now, and that is one that we try to make better. And again, right, obviously my look to the story is very technology centered and focused, but everything we can put to the table when it comes to using new technology is per se good.
Yeah. And it's all is, like I think often it's like, okay, curing cancer. I agree, you should cure cancer, but it's often like that's like a highlight. But there's so many other things, as you mentioned as well, psoriasis. Yesterday I went to my kid's daycare and I saw there was this boy there, and he's full, like his face is just fully red. And the mom tells like, yeah, he has like allergies for everything, for dust, for trees, for grass, for food, for animals, like everything. So this little boy, 3 years old, he's just, he's struggling. And if there was a drug that could help him with how, because for him, it's not an option to just fully isolate him in one like clean room, but having drugs that could actually help him live his life without being able to scratch or having irritation everywhere, it can have such impact in people's lives. The drugs is not just bad. I think often pharmacists are put as like this bad, especially when you go to the US. It's like it's bad. It's not. It's really helping the patients, really helping to live your disease. And if you're able to help them develop a drug that would actually improve that as well.
That comes very close to my heart now, and I talked at the Web Summit about it quite a bit. My wife suffers an nasty autoimmune disease. I can relate extremely well to everything you just said. Life with a chronic disease, if you're allergic to almost everything, or if your immune system is kind of already boiled up or cooked up, and then you have some scent, some whatever else it is, that makes it then even harder. Your day is centering around literally managing a disease rather than living a life. Or living sort of the life that everybody kind of wants to live to the biggest extent. That's a big thing. That's a big change in someone's lives, right? And everything we can do to make it better is actually, I think, a gigantic step for people, no matter if it's a rare disease or a very kind of population-wide disease like diabetes. And again, right? Technology is next to unleashing the power of people. I think that the number one thing we can do from a pharma point of view, and I want to also give the audience some context, right? It takes us on average roughly 12 years to get an idea to the market. Think of it like a gigantic hedge bet. It's actually $1 billion hedge bet, quite literally, of risk capital we need to invest as company, as industry, without having any idea if that thing ever would get to the market. So it's kind of easy to say, oh, this the pharmaceutical blah blah blah, or look at it the other way around. There's a hell lot of people that get up every morning and that think about how can we invent the next best drug to actually help more people.
Absolutely. But Clemens, listen, I think that our viewers also would like to know a little bit of the nitty-gritty of quantum computing. So can you really explain us what will be the impact on quantum, on accelerating drug development? How can we go faster?
So if you look at the basics of drug development, right, you have target discovery and then lead optimization, largely lead identification and lead optimization, and then comes clinical development. Now, on the target discovery side, all the way to LO, we talk 2 years, 3 years in the making. If you apply heavily AI, you maybe already got that down to a year and in that range. However, with quantum, we want to make it even better, right? We want to ensure that people can literally de novo design drugs on a blank sheet of paper, and they can do it lightning fast with better calculations than we can do today, right? It's for us, it's lesser about making it faster. It's more about making it better at the same time. We are super happy to sort of to live with that year or whatever it is, if it's the even better drug than today. I mean, with quantum, we go for a very simple sort of type advantage. The advantage is you get more data in the same time that we spend today in experiments or with AI or other computational means, or at the same quality, but much faster. And that's sort of why we do this. Don't think of quantum boxes like this magic thing or whatever else. It just helps us to calculate in certain environments, in certain circumstances, much faster than today. And I mean exponentially faster, because I told about this this problem today, right? If you go into very complex compounds, the only way to do this is extremely approximative, light years away from really getting down to quantum mechanical means and treatments. And that is what quantum computing, digital quantum computing, is supposed to give us. We are still away from having this groundbreaking piece where we say, number one, we have the hardware, and number two, we have all the algorithms that would get us that light speed, and light speed in the context of industrial advantage. But that's sort of one piece we look at, right? And that is sort of really early development. The second part is clinical development. On the clinical development side, that is clinical trials, phase 1, all the way until the submission study, phase 3, and then the market launch. There's a couple problems that we look at where quantum may be able to help us, but these are more optimization related, right? How do I find the best clinical cohort for a given problem, right? I mean, obviously, the subjects, so the participants of clinical trials, they are not endless. It's not like, I mean, there's only so many people in the world that fit an inclusion criteria to a trial, and literally every study competes for them. So being able to actually decrease that to the ultimate minimum that is extremely representative of the population, because that is what we want, right? The more you go towards the submission phase of the or submission study, the more inclusive you need to be, and the more obviously more population stretch you have to have in. If we could design that better and find smarter means to identify the people via site selection and whatnot, that would also tremendously help us. Because today, for one, getting those patients, for two, ensuring that these subjects stay in the study rather than leave early is a big thing to look at. From in fact, the entire pharmaceutical industry looks at that right now, because again, right, subjects are not endless, and everyone that drops out of a study for whichever reasons is actually one we need to account for, one that destroys one lineage of data, and that's a big thing that we also look into.
Definitely, and I'm sure that quantum computing will also have an impact on AI, because obviously we are talking of addressing much bigger quantities of data, right? Sigrid, so on your perspective, would quantum and be an enabler for the AI revolution to be even more so pervasive as it is right now?
That it will be a what?
More pervasive as it is today.
Yeah, well, I think it's really hard because I don't. Yeah, I've heard explanation now of quantum data, but it's just more like what understanding the impact. I think I need for myself. I need a couple like seconds to fully understand what impact it will have. But being able to have even more data, analyze more data, and also the examples that Clemens came with, knowing which type of population you could use for your study or finding those, or would you also? I'm curious. Would you also need? Could you do it with a study with less data points, or like less studies? You wouldn't know. Still, you.
I think so. If you look at AI, right, a lot of people, and rightly so, think you need more and more and more data. There's actually a good proof that I read that especially in the realm of Gen AI, so generative AI and LLMs, more data is not equaling more data quality. Or more output data quality, right? So you actually reach a good plateau where you can stick even more data in, especially, and if you then were to actually produce that data to learn synthetically, you'll actually have a big drop in quality. Quantum computing is not good at processing large amounts of data. There's a hell lot of troubles or a whole lot of, let me phrase it, open questions and research directions right now in terms of like, can we do something with quantum for AI? There is a couple ideas in terms of maybe you need then way more data for the same output or the same quality of output, but do not think, or at least we are nowhere close from a research point of view, to say quantum can benefit AI at large. I think those two will have to coexist in one or the other fashion. The output, the better data we get from the quantum box, then fed into the training of an AI model to make its predictions better. There is a bunch of interesting use cases the other way around, where AI can benefit quantum when it comes to the error correction, because that's sort of the biggest thing right now. How can we actually get really error-corrected qubits that have a lifetime long enough for a calculation? But on the other side, so quantum for AI, still very open what the actual benefit could be. Nonetheless, I mean, obviously there is a hell lot of places for AI and machine learning. In drug design, in drug discovery, in clinical trial design. And we make use of that today when we predict properties, right? During the design, when we try to predict on outcomes of a study based on a very limited set of data and whatnot. There we already make heavy use of AI, left, right, up, and down. And it's working very well.
And what do you see like the most, like how could quantum computing benefit clinical trials, for example? Like what would be the main like top ways it could?
I think also subject to plenty of research right now.
Yeah.
Because obviously we want to provide an advantage. It's kind of, a lot of hype on quantum is like quantum can fix everything. Right now we know about a very small subset of things where there is mathematical proof that there will be an exponential advantage. And this advantage we need to have in order to make quantum viable in the first place. However, there's also ideas around where it could help, where we don't have proof yet because it's subject to ongoing research. And one of that may in fact be, can we identify better sites and smaller site populations for a trial? And that would already make the game quite different, because less people in the trial, more artificial arm to that, assuming that the regulator allows us to have more and larger control arms, or even to the point where it's not just a control arm, but a primary arm being to some extent virtual and only to a limited extent physical, maybe an interesting piece to come. More on the AI front, but maybe with the help of quantum.
I've heard about this, like discussing it with companies as well. How can you use AI for clinical trials and reduce the trial, or like actually like improve the success of that trial and prediction whether a trial would go through, will be successful, or predict which type of population it would be successful for. And if you combine that and improve it even more, or make it faster or less impactful on patients or study participants.
I think one of the things is the better we can predict the properties of a compound early on, the easier it is to kick it or to change it before we get even close. Because one thing is obviously there's all sorts of quality gates between something will ever be first in patient or then in a larger population. It's all about efficacy, right? It's all about making it better in the context of binding to other targets, so off targets, making the dose lesser. And that is sort of, I want to attack that problem, not late, but early. And the earlier we can attack the problem, because we design better binding affinities, we know that we need to stick one more atom on it before we actually go and put it into clinical development. That would likely dramatically help the outcome. And that is sort of where we see, at least for now, the biggest lever with quantum, and likely the first application that is way more quantum chemistry related than anything in the long haul. Because also for complex optimization problems, you will need size. You will need massive sizes of qubits and quantum boxes, while on the chemistry side, it's still big, but not as massive. Because, I mean, compounds and proteins, yes, they are large-scale systems, but nothing compared to an optimization problem that you can at least solve okay today, where we try to figure out, can you solve it better at the same time in a much larger context? Does it make sense to you?
Yeah.
Absolutely. So fascinating times we are living. Quantum AI, this is going to bring humanity to a different level. How about stakeholder engagement, stakeholder collaboration? Could we use the models from quantum to get better agreement between the spenders, the payers, and the providers on price collaboration? What are your views here, Clemens, and perhaps also Sigrid?
Honestly, I doubt it, because I mean, at the very end, we want to use technology to make healthcare equitable, right? And I think there is other means to make medicine as a whole more equitable and more accessible, and that is actually something that also drives us, right? In discussions with payers when it comes to is a drug advantageous compared to the baseline of cure, of care that is today available. I mean, you talked, Sigrid, earlier about that poor kid with all sorts of allergies, right? Standard therapy today is cortisone, right? And everybody knows cortisone is great to get inflammation down, but it's lesser great if you have to take it over extended periods of time, and especially in the context of a truly chronic disease. So here, actually providing better means that prevent that flush, prevent that outbreak, or getting that outbreak much faster under control is what we need to look at. We need to look at providing medicines that make life more equitable, more accessible, and we need to do this across the population, inside the country and also across the world, right? And that also implies that we need to get these underrepresented ethnies and earlier into the trials, but potentially, given that there is only a limited set of them, maybe more artificially, and because everybody is fighting for that fixed group size, right? And with all its trouble, I purposefully try to stay away from reimbursement and whatnot. Reimbursement systems are sort of a magic in itself, and there is reasons why they are set up the way they are. Extremely dependent on the country, by the way, and equitable health is actually a country priority. We do our share to that, providing medicines into the country that prolong life. The rest is with the country's governments.
I understand the stake. How about you, Sigrid? How do you see that quantum and AI could make health care more sustainable for the governments who have to pay for it?
I'm also not that much into the reimbursement, honestly, yet. I think that's difficult to answer. But what I do want to say, just in general on technology, is that I do think the reimbursement models, they do need to we do need to reevaluate how we do reimburse things and what we do reimburse. Germany has done quite a lot, or is doing quite a lot with the DIGA and like digital health reimbursements. Other countries are also following. But it's more seen, like the real value of whether it's medicine, whether it's digital health, whether it's something else. What value does it bring to the patient, to the country, or for equity for that matter? And figuring out a payment model, like a reimbursement way through that. But it needs to bring true value, and it needs to be. I'm very much a proponent that we need to have data to show that it is actually working. That we're not just subscribing a digital health app that has no whatsoever data that's showing that it's effective. So we need to make sure that it is actually useful. So how that should be solved, I think it's difficult to say. I think that it needs to come from a political level, but also with the insurances. But we're looking more at the value and the outcome of a treatment, because right now, in many cases, is if you say, okay, I break my arm, I go to the hospital gets money from whatever, depending on the country, but from the insurance company or from the government, whatever, from my treatment. But if they do a mistake, I need to come back up because they actually messed up. Maybe I needed surgery because I broke my arm really, really bad, and I need to come back because I got an infection. They still they will get more money. The hospital would eventually get more money from that. So they're not looking at the real value, or from that care and whether or not it's effective. And that whole structure, whether it's digital health, whether it's AI, whether it's medicine or another like surgery, we need to look at what are we really reimbursing and how are we reimbursing things. Are we looking at the patient from the patient perspective, which I would argue we're not, or are we looking at it, okay, obviously the hospital does a certain type of treatment, but we should think about it. I really it's hard for me, okay, this is how we should do it. I don't know. But I want to kind of say that the hospitals that give quality treatments that actually keep patients away from the hospital, in a good sense, they treat the ones that need to be treated, that they should be, I don't know, get something else, get some type of bonus in one way or the other. I guess a lot of people would
it's all around the right medicine for the right patient.
Yeah.
And the right care for the right patient. And I think digital, to latch on to DIGA and other topics, right? We see more and more, especially in the realm of chronic diseases, that we have to go beyond or a drug or a compound. It's not without it, but there is more to it. And that is how people actually manage their life, right? Manage their life better, their disease better, right? And remove burden from them, right? With contraindications. Many people, obviously, that suffer chronic disease don't just get one compound, one drug. They get an army of them, in fact, unfortunately, with potential cross indications and many other topics, right? And how can we make that easier to understand, better to understand? And the other part is actually, is there a lifestyle change required, or can they predict actually by biomarkers an outbreak, a rush? And I think here it's we have so much data. I wish that data was actually be able to be really used. And then we come obviously into ethical considerations, right? And new ideas like federated learning, right? How much of that could actually be on a cell phone without cloud, right? How much of that data can benefit more than one patient without exposing a single patient's data? And I think these are the things that, from a technology and AI point of view, we need to worry about and work through. And there is actually pretty cool research on that, be it via I Own My Data, be it via universities right now, to make that idea of how much I can actually run on a cell phone without any data in the cloud. How much can I prevent actually uncovering the training data from using the model itself, in order to make actually data truly valuable for many, many more people than today. And that also goes back to equitable health, right? If you require an iPhone, That's great. That's maybe great for the Western or population, including Asia, but I'm sure it's lesser great for poorer countries or tier 2 or tier 3 countries. And I think here, the trick is to make personalized medicine more possible, but make it more possible for everyone.
Yeah.
That's sort of something that keeps me also quite a bit awake, right? Cutting edge technology is cool. On the other side, it's also one or the other way expensive, and we need to turn those insights that we get into equitable medication.
I like that focus. Also not just the medication, but like equitable health. Because if you look across the globe, everyone has access to a phone. There's like this saying that in Uganda they have twice as many phones as they have light bulbs. I think it's just like, I don't know if it's true, but it's just gives an indication. Okay, people actually have phones everywhere, like across the globe. It doesn't matter which country. So the possibilities are there, but what is it like? What is the chance that everyone would actually have equitable access to these type of digital health tools, to treatments, to medicine? So that when developing or introducing these type of tools as well, how do we make sure that we're not just going to increase the gap between rich countries, poor countries, or rich societies and not, but everyone has access to it and can live a fulfilling life, because it has so much. It doesn't really have, like, obviously it has impact for like the quality of life, but also impact on the society as a whole. Because what you mentioned as well, if you live with like chronic disease and you're trying to figure out like how to handle this, but it really impacts your life, you might not even be able to work as much or at all as you wanted. You might be able to take care of your family as you wanted, or your like the social network. It has so much like ripple effect, and we're not talking about that. And it really, a lot of these things stem from health. And so if people are being able to live, like a healthy, fulfilling life and do like the maximum what they can, it has impact in so many places of society. And that also, like, focusing on the patient, focusing on how it can impact like everyone to the better.
True.
Absolutely.
Very, very true.
It's so true. We are approaching the end of this conversation, dear guests, and we are going to close this interview in a few minutes. But before we go, I would like to ask a question that might be a little bit of a cliche, but might not. But if each of you had a magic wand in your hand, what will be the wish you would have, thinking about 2025 that's just starting ahead of us? Who wants
Sigrid?
to start?
Oh, I need some time to think about this.
I tried.
You should have mentioned it in the beginning so we could have thought about it during the webinar. Do you know what you want to say, Clemens? You may start. I need to
Cure
think
cancer.
about it. Just for 2025.
Yeah.
A magic wand?
Yeah.
Hey, a magic wand works now. I mean, obviously, if you were to put this through a test of reality, right? The variety of cancer and clinical development and whatnot, obviously. But hey, no, I mean, that would be the ultimate magic wand, right? If I had sort of a wish to the universe to make a chronic disease be gone from the place of Earth, that I think would be a wish to the universe. Reality-wise, I think to go also tie it all back to quantum and AI. I think for 2025, I wish more people would focus on algorithm development and lesser hype around quantum and more serious research to get us better algorithms that are executing faster than those that we have today. Because at the very end, and I close it off sort of with a statement I made also at the Web Summit, I don't want the day to come where qubits fall from heaven, a quantum box, and it's like in the Stone Age where people were sitting around a cave and then a lightning stroke lit up some fire, and it took us years and years and years to understand what that thing is that was fire and be able to tame it. And I think that really requires actually that solid applied research, and I wish for that in 2025.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Clemens. Sigrid,
Yeah.
you're on the spot now.
Yeah. So it wouldn't just cure chronic disease, or just cure all diseases. So that digital health we don't need any digital health apps anymore. So everyone would lose their jobs and focus on something else. No, but I think the focus, what I wish for 2025 is like put put that up is really focusing again on the patient and the outcomes of whatever tool you're using, like the end user, not because I think it's been so much what Clemens has said, like this hype. Okay, we're gonna like hype things up if it's quantum data, quantum computing, or AI or whatever technology. We can hype up a lot of things, but we forget the true focus on who's being impacted.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your thoughts and for your presence here with me in this virtual space. I hope, dear viewers, you have also enjoyed this conversation as we are going to close the episode now. Please stay tuned as we are going to have more interviews upcoming 2025. It's really great to be here with all of you, and thank you so much, Sigrid and Clemens, for sharing your morning with us here as we are watching this replay recorded in December, and I hope you benefit from this as much as I did.
Thank you very much, Paulo, for having us.
Thank you.
Really a pleasure, Clemens and Sigrid. Thank you so much.
What if you could be part of a revolution that transforms healthcare as we know it? Welcome to Digital Health Portugal, where innovation meets collaboration. Our mission is to foster the transformation of healthcare systems by promoting open dialogue, civic engagement, and the adoption of innovative technologies. Imagine a world where patient outcomes are optimized and healthcare delivery is seamless. Our Digital Health Manifesto is the strategic framework guiding this transformation. Our events, seminars, and workshops create momentum for sharing and discussing health-related ideas. Experience the power of collaboration at our quarterly meetups. Portugal's thriving startup ecosystem is reshaping the digital health industry. Our products and services are uniquely created to match your communication goals. We are the most relevant civic engagement platform for health innovators. We partner with Forum Hospital do Futuro to foster a sustainable national health service. Our think tank, SNS de Contas Certas, is committed to driving the transformation of the National Health Service through open dialogue among public, private, and social sector stakeholders. We encourage knowledge generation and support policymakers in understanding health ecosystem needs. Be part of the movement, advocate for change, and co-create the future of healthcare. Our members are united by a shared purpose to drive meaningful innovation and transformation in healthcare for the benefit of all. Dive into our podcast to uncover actionable strategies from our think tank plenaries. Join our LinkedIn Live sessions for engaging discussions with healthcare leaders and innovators. Join us at the Health Data Forum Global Hybrid Summit to shape the future of health data. Our goal is to raise the excellence of the Portuguese healthcare ecosystem internationally. Be part of the digital health revolution with Digital Health Portugal and make your mark.